For 7 years of marriage, Angelica, or Angie as everyone called her, had been my band manager, a constant presence witnessing my journey from obscurity to fame. We were a team, or so I thought. Lately, my bandmates had been forced to join me in this charade, sacrificing sleep and meals as we secretly rehearsed the new song I'd pinned for her. A surprise, a grand romantic gesture for our upcoming 7th anniversary. But just moments ago, a notification popped up on the tablet at home, an explicit video message. There, on the screen, was Angie, draped in scandalous lace lingerie, her body a languid invitation on our bed, and straddling her, his tattooed arms flexing with each thrust, was a man I recognized. Leo, the fresh-faced, trust fund baby frontman of the new band our company had signed just 3 months prior. His husky voice, laced with exertion, purred, "You're so beautiful, Angie." Below the video, Angie had replied with a flirty emoji. "Naughty boy. I adore the Hermes perfume you got me, darling. It's like you reached right into my soul." The revelation hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. My world tilted. It was as if the vibrant colors of my life had suddenly leached away, leaving behind a stark, monochrome reality. My knuckles turned white as I clenched my fists, the lyrics of my love song mocking me from the back of my mind. With a trembling hand, I dialed a group call to my bandmates. "I've booked 4 tickets to Bali. We're heading overseas next week for a retreat." My voice was strained, a brittle attempt at nonchalance. A burst of excited chatter erupted from the other end of the line, quickly followed by hesitant questions. Ben, our bassist, his voice tinged with caution, ventured, "Ethan, man, Bali sounds amazing, especially for us single guys. But has Angie given the green light?" Mark, the drummer, chimed in, "Yeah, bro. Isn't she always on your case about hanging out with us and neglecting home? Is this some kind of anniversary surprise for her in Bali?" I lit a cigarette, the cherry glowing like a malevolent eye in the dim room, and inhaled deeply. No surprises for Angie. Actually, I exhaled a plume of smoke, the word hanging in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. "I'm planning a divorce." Silence descended on the call, thick and heavy. Finally, David, our guitarist, who'd always been the quiet observer, sighed. "Ethan, if you've thought this through, we're with you, man. Whatever you decide." Ending the call, I saved the incriminating video to my personal drive, a digital insurance policy, before locking the tablet screen and placing it back exactly where it had been. 7 years of marriage, and almost all of our assets were under Angie's control. Using the meager amount of cash I had squirreled away, I hired a top-tier divorce lawyer to draft a separation agreement. The process was cold, clinical, a stark contrast to the fiery passion of my music, the supposed warmth of my marriage. With the legal arrangements underway, I retreated to my music room, the sanctuary where melodies were born and emotions found their voice. I slammed on my headphones, letting the raw, rebellious energy of rock music consume me, a temporary anesthetic for a heart about to be carved open. As dusk deepened, the lock on the music room door clicked, and Angie's silhouette appeared in the doorway. Before I could react, she was upon me, gently removing my headphones, her voice a soothing murmur. "Ethan, darling, been in here all afternoon again? Take a break, my rock star. The experts say listening to music with headphones for too long is bad for your hearing." Her hands cupped my face, her touch once familiar, now alien. She leaned in, enveloping me in a cloud of cloying perfume. The intimate gesture, once a source of comfort, now sent a jolt of revulsion through me. I stiffened, subtly pulling away. "New perfume?" I asked, my voice flat, devoid of inflection. A flicker of unease, a fleeting shadow of guilt, crossed her features, though she quickly masked it. Still, I'd seen it. It was there, a silent confirmation of my suspicions. Her voice rose, tinged with indignation, a practiced performance of wounded innocence. "You know I'm not one to splurge on myself. Where would I get money for perfume? It was a business gift from a client, that's all. Why are you grilling me about every little thing?" I met her gaze, my own steady, unwavering. I didn't say anything. Why are you getting defensive? Perhaps realizing she'd overplayed her hand, her expression shifted. Tears welled in her eyes, a masterful display of manufactured hurt. You know what? Today, I had lunch with Wendy, my best friend, and she was bragging about all the things her husband buys her. Designer bags, jewelry, custom-made dresses. She was practically flaunting it in my face. Angie's voice trembled with manufactured outrage. And you, Ethan? What have you ever bought me? A bitter taste rose in my throat. It was always like this. Corner her, and she'd pivot, deflect, counterattack with a fresh grievance. I have bought you things, Angie. The gold necklace for Valentine's Day, all those clothes and shoes you added to your online cart, even that limited edition figurine I flew overseas to get for you. Her sobs intensified, becoming theatrical, punctuated by gasps. You just don't get me. I'm not materialistic. You never see what I truly need. Weariness washed over me, a familiar tide of exhaustion. I've never stopped you from buying designer brands. The money's all in your account, Angie. You're the one who swipes the card at the checkout. I turned down so many rich guys who were chasing after me. Ethan chose to marry you when you had nothing. All these years, all I wanted was for you to understand me, to care more about me. Why can't you do that? You don't even love me. A humorless laugh almost escaped my lips. How could she be so insatiable? She wanted everything, the image of virtue, the envy of others, and the tangible rewards of wealth. For the first time, I resisted the urge to placate her, to offer empty words of comfort. I simply watched her perform, a detached observer of a familiar, tiresome drama. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 7. For our wedding, I'd poured every penny I'd earned from gigs and scholarships into a simple, heartfelt elopement. My parents were gone, leaving me with only their old house, not the mansion she might have envisioned. Yet, she'd insisted material possessions meant nothing, that I was all that mattered. Our bandmates envied our seemingly perfect marriage, everyone praising Angie as the ideal wife. But now, the lewd video replayed in my mind, a stark counterpoint to the carefully constructed facade. I was done. I couldn't feign affection any longer, couldn't summon the energy to beg for forgiveness for sins I hadn't committed. Seeing my lack of reaction, her tears evaporated as abruptly as they'd appeared. Her voice turned cold, sharp. Ethan, we both need space. You're sleeping in the study tonight. Sleep offered no escape that night. My mind a relentless carousel of grief and betrayal. In the dead of night, around 1, I lay in bed, listening. The study door creaked open, barely audible. Angie's voice, a hushed whisper, drifted from the doorway. Ethan? Ethan? Silence. Then, the soft click of the study door closing again. Curiosity, a sliver of suspicion, propelled me out of bed. I crept to the bedroom door, easing it open. From within, Angie's voice, though lowered, was unmistakable, carried on the still night air. She was on the phone. Baby, I miss you so much. Do you miss me too? Leo's Chingxiao, a sound that now grated on my nerves, responded. Of course, Angie. How could I not? You're gorgeous, captivating, unforgettable. You smooth talker, always know what to say. Angie giggled, a sound I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Hey, there's this original music reality show, Rocking the Stage Season 3, auditioning bands. Starts filming in 6 months. Want to enter? I can pull some strings, get you a spot. Really? That's every rocker's dream. But aren't those slots super competitive? Shouldn't you save it for Ethan? Angie scoffed, a dismissive sound. Him? He hasn't written a decent song in a year. Washed up. He'd just waste the opportunity. You've got real talent, Leo. It's perfect for you. That was enough. I quietly closed the door and retreated back to bed, the sting of her words sharper than any physical pain. It was true. I hadn't written a new song in a year. For the past 7 years, under Angie's relentless drive, I've been a workhorse, churning out songs, rehearsals, tours, TV appearances. Ethan, I love everything about you, she'd say, her eyes shimmering with a kind of ambitious fervor. "But I want to see you on bigger stages." So I'd pushed myself, relentlessly, tirelessly. I was the provider, the pillar of our home. I couldn't fail her, couldn't let her down. Eventually, I'd founded my own record label, providing her with the luxurious life she now seemed to crave, the sprawling villa, the trappings of success. But the constant grind had dulled my creativity, stifled my inspiration. For the past 3 months, I'd finally decided to take a break, to recharge, to rediscover my muse. I'd asked Angie to cancel all my commercial gigs. Financially, we were more than secure. Yet, Angie had become increasingly irritable, her discontent palpable. Now, I understood. It wasn't about the money, not entirely. It was about relevance, about her reflected glory. I wasn't shining brightly enough for her anymore, and she'd found a new, younger, more dazzling star to orbit. The next morning, Angie left for the office early. I drove there myself later to retrieve the company's equity documents. I found Angie in her office, leaning intimately close to Leo, heads bent together, their laughter light and carefree. The sight, instead of igniting rage or heartbreak, sparked a chilling sense of irony. "Ethan, heard you're on songwriting sabbatical at home. What brings you in today?" Leo drawled, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. His designer shirt was tucked neatly into his trousers, highlighting a familiar flash of crocodile leather, a Louis Vuitton belt. My eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. That belt. I'd seen it in the depths of our closet just a week ago. Limited edition, crocodile skin, practically impossible to get. I'd assumed it was an anniversary gift for me. Now, there it was, cinching Leo's waist, undeniably Angie's gift to her protégé. A bitter smile twisted my lips. Perfume, belts, they weren't even trying to hide their affair. Still coasting on past glories, I see. "The company's going to crash and burn one day if he keeps this up," Angie interjected, rolling her eyes at me, her voice dripping with contempt, utterly devoid of warmth. I remained calm, unfazed by her venom. With CEO Angie at the helm and talent like Leo to carry the artistic weight, how could the company possibly fail? I responded smoothly, a subtle dig veiled in polite words. Angie's smile faltered, a flicker of something akin to resentment in her eyes. "Ethan, what's with the sarcasm? Leo is more talented than you now?" Her voice trailed off, the unspoken truth hanging heavy in the air. She knew, deep down, that wasn't true. Not yet, and perhaps never would be. Back in the early days, fresh out of college, I'd built our studio from the ground up. I'd been the driving force, the creative engine, juggling business meetings, rehearsals, and late-night songwriting sessions. Some had whispered that Angie was just a pretty face, a trophy wife, that I'd eventually tire of her. Angie, in turn, had played on my insecurities, claiming she felt insecure, undervalued. So, I'd agreed to let her quit her job as my band's road manager and become our actual manager, then CEO. When the company went public, she'd insisted on holding 90% of the shares. I'd conceded, wanting to prove my trust, my devotion. Even the villa we'd bought, I'd readily put solely in her name. Foolish, lovesick me. I'd wanted to give her security, to prove my love was unwavering, eternal. I'd never imagined losing her. Now, I realized I'd been living a lie, a carefully constructed illusion. Leo stepped protectively in front of Angie, his youthful arrogance radiating off him. "Ethan, this company was built on your name." "Sure," but Angie poured her heart and soul into it. "Don't be ungrateful." "Besides," he sneered, his voice dripping with condescension, "you're just a has-been. Who are you to talk?" Angie's expression softened, a hint of gratitude flickering in her eyes. She turned her attention back to me, her tone laced with impatience. "Ethan, I know you're struggling to accept that you're not the star anymore. But face it, the company, our whole life, is being held together by me right now. Without me, your music world would crumble. Do you even realize that?" "No, you don't care. I can't even comprehend how you can be so selfish, so arrogant, After all these years, her words were a barrage, laced with accusations, her eyes reflecting a chilling disdain, as if I were some loathsome stranger. Seeing her radiant smiles for Leo, contrasting so starkly with the constant frowns and exasperation she directed at me, a profound sense of coldness settled in my heart. Years of devotion, years of unwavering support, meant less than nothing compared to a 3-month fling with a younger man. A hollow chuckle escaped my lips. If that's how you see it, then let's just make it official. We're getting divorced. Angie waved a dismissive hand, completely unfazed. Divorce? Fine. But the house and the money are mine, right? I snorted derisively. The lawyers will sort out the details. Leo feigned concern, a transparent mask of false sympathy. Ethan, don't say things you don't mean. Angie needs comfort and understanding. Not this aggression. His two-faced act was nauseating. Comfort? Seems like Angie's getting plenty of comfort from you already. Isn't she, Angie? I emphasized her name, a subtle shift in power dynamics, a deliberate icebreaker. Angie's face flushed crimson. I'd never called her Angie, with that detached formality, always Angelica or babe, even in arguments, always seeking reconciliation, always softening the blow. Ethan, you're being impossible. You're twisting everything, aren't you? Someone was losing their cool. Ignore him, Leo. He's just being dramatic, throwing a tantrum. He needs to calm down and think things through. Angie snapped, grabbing Leo's arm and dragging him away, leaving me standing alone in the office. It was the first time I dared to publicly challenge her, to chip away at her carefully constructed image of control. She was likely convinced I'd crumble within hours, crawling back, begging forgiveness, as always. But this time, there would be no reconciliation. Not now, not ever. Once trust was broken, it shattered into irreparable fragments. I collected the equity documents and drove home. For the first time, I truly saw our villa, this place we'd shared for 5 years. Every corner, every piece of furniture, every carefully chosen decoration had been a joint project, a testament to our supposed shared life. Angie had always preached frugality, a fondness for the past. So, we'd moved our old furniture from my childhood home into this modern space, a strange juxtaposition of old and new. She'd indulged her inner princess, draping the bedroom in pink, frills, and girlish fantasies, and I'd simply smiled, indulging her whims. The peaceful, happy life we'd supposedly built together now felt like a cruel joke. I opened my suitcase and began packing, methodically sorting through my belongings, separating my life from hers. A notification pinged on my phone. A message from Leo. Ethan, Angie said she needs a break, some time away to clear her head. She won't be home for a few days. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. Below the text, a short video clip. Angie, in a skimpy mini dress, moving with uninhibited abandon on a crowded dance floor, her face flushed, a wide, genuine smile illuminating her features. I'd rarely seen her so carefree, so genuinely happy. The last time I'd witnessed such unrestrained joy was when, after years of relentless work, we'd finally moved into this villa. She jumped into my arms, her kiss filled with a childlike exuberance. I recognized the bar in the video, one of B-City's top-tier nightclubs, a playground for the wealthy elite. Angie had always scoffed at such places, calling them frivolous, a waste of money. She, the epitome of thriftiness, would only spend wisely, she declared. Yet, here she was, Leo's silly girl for the night, reveling in the extravagance, and she seemed utterly, blissfully happy. Her happiness was so simple, yet so unattainable for me. 8 years together, and I was just now realizing I'd never truly known her, never understood her heart, and perhaps she'd never cared to understand mine. Angie stayed away for 4 days. I didn't reach out. Instead, my social media feeds became a curated gallery of her radiant selfies, undeniable proof of her newfound bliss with Leo. Lunch at a 5-star restaurant, beaming into the camera. Posing with golf clubs on a manicured green, radiating sporty chic. A suggestive swimsuit shot from a luxurious spa, steam swirling around her. Each photo strategically included a glimpse of Leo, a subtle, or not-so-subtle, message directed squarely at me. I liked every single post, a silent, sardonic acknowledgement of her performance, then turned off my phone. During those 4 days, besides finalizing the divorce agreement with my lawyer, I methodically purged my life from the villa. My belongings were packed, the spaces I'd once occupied, now starkly empty. The villa now felt distinctly feminine, decorated in warm tones, yet jarringly punctuated by the mismatched, outdated furniture Angie had insisted on keeping. With the packing almost complete, I called Mr. Lewis, the head producer of Rocking the Stage, a casual lunch invitation masking a calculated agenda. I proposed a cameo appearance on the show, a surprise, mystery guest reveal. As a former champion of the show, and a known name in the industry, Mr. Lewis readily agreed, promising my band a prime, headlining slot. He expressed surprise, even concern, that my own manager, my wife, had pushed a new band onto the show, seemingly sidelining me. When I vaguely mentioned pending divorce, his face softened with sympathy. He clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. After lunch with Mr. Lewis, I drove to the cemetery. I sat in silence by my parents' graves, a quiet communion with the only unconditional love I'd ever known. If they were here, they'd understand, they'd support my decision, wouldn't they? A pomegranate from the offering plate, untouched by any breeze, rolled off the edge, falling at my feet. A sign? A message from beyond? Dusk was settling when I finally returned to the villa. It was the night before my departure, and a sense of closure, a need for formality, compelled me to attempt a final farewell to Angie. Divorce by ghosting felt wrong. But my calls went unanswered, each one promptly rejected. After 25 attempts, a text message finally arrived. "Ethan, do you know what you did? Humiliating me in front of others 4 days ago? That moment destroyed me. You tore me to shreds, Ethan, shreds. Friends I've barely known for weeks have shown me more care, taking me away to relax. And you? Not a single sign of remorse. You only reach out now? You're so cold-blooded. Unless you can acknowledge your mistakes, unless you genuinely kneel and apologize, don't bother contacting me again." A wry smile touched my lips. Farewell unsaid then. So be it. The next morning, I left the divorce papers on the coffee table, a silent, legal adieu. Dragging my suitcase, I headed to the airport to meet my bandmates. Just before boarding, I blocked Angie's number, deleted her from my contacts, and switched off my phone. Headphones on, the liberating roar of rock music flooded my ears. I don't want to be drunk and sleepless anymore / should I continue or face it? Is the dream ahead / the dawn is faintly shining? Stepping off the plane in Bali, we were like a pack of liberated teenagers, rushing towards the beach, the weight of the past dissolving with each step. The oppressive weight of endless gigs, relentless schedules, the suffocating presence of constant arguments and suspicions, all gone. Freedom. Finally, I can just write. I yelled at the vast expanse of the ocean, the sound swallowed by the rhythmic crash of waves. My bandmates echoed my cry, their voices booming with newfound energy. "Congratulations on your freedom, Ethan. We're going to be the greatest rock band in the country. Rock and roll forever." Who? For 3 glorious months, Bali became our sanctuary. We soaked in the sun, the sea, the sky, our creative spirits reignited by the raw beauty of the island. When boredom threatened, we'd pick up our instruments, jamming by the ocean, the rhythmic crash of waves providing the perfect percussion. When the music faded, we'd lose ourselves in the vibrant Balinese nightlife, seeking out hidden punk bars, joining local bands in raw, energetic sets. And when the weight of the past threatened to resurface, we'd drown it in cheap beer, collapsing into laughter and oblivion, ready to greet the next day with renewed vigor. We surfed at sunrise in Seminyak, found solace in the rain-drenched rice paddies of Ubud, explored the rugged beauty of Nusa Lembongan. By scooter, chased sunsets at Uluwatu, swam with dolphins in Lavina, and island-hopped in Sanur, swimming in crystal-clear waters. During this time, Angie called countless times from unfamiliar numbers, her messages piling up, a digital avalanche of guilt-tripping and manufactured outrage. But I was too busy living, too immersed in my newfound freedom to care. Each call, each message, was met with swift deletion, a decisive severing of ties. After 3 months of blissful escape, a new creative direction began to emerge. The band's sound was evolving, shifting, still rock, but infused with the breezy, sun-drenched vibes of our island sojourn. Surf rock, we jokingly called it. Island rock. Freedom rock. One day, while strumming my guitar on the volcanic rocks overlooking the ocean, searching for inspiration, a young woman with vibrant dreadlocks approached, her eyes wide with excitement. Are you Galactic Coastline?" she stammered, breathlessly. "Oh my God, my favorite band. Can I get a photo with you?" I smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile, a feeling I hadn't experienced in far too long. Incredibly, even here, on this remote island, we had fans. Her name was Riley, a music student on a gap year, traveling solo. She was effervescent, passionate about music, and before long, she joined our impromptu jam sessions, her voice blending seamlessly with ours. As we talked late into the night, sharing stories and musical dreams, a strange sense of déjà vu washed over me. Before Angie, 8 years ago, I'd been this same idealistic, music-obsessed kid. My bandmates, then strangers, had become brothers, united by a shared passion. In those early days, we'd played dive bars, our raw energy captivating audiences. A few online videos later, we'd found ourselves with a small but devoted following. Angie had appeared during those bar gigs, a quiet presence in the corner, always there, always supportive. Older, wiser, seemingly understanding. After each set, she'd be waiting with a thermos of soothing tea, her gentle care a balm to my raw throat and weary soul. But marriage and the insidious creep of security had changed everything. Angie, in her desire for control, had gradually taken over, micromanaging the band, becoming our manager, and slowly suffocating our creative freedom. My bandmates had grumbled, complained about her overbearing style, but I'd always defended her, prioritized her feelings, straining my friendships. For the sake of my marriage. Give her a break, guys, she just wants what's best for us, I'd say, earning the silent label of whipped. But Angie had never truly understood me, never understood the soul of rock and roll. For her, music was a means to an end, a path to wealth, to the villa, to the life she craved. A painful truth I was only now fully confronting. Riley, in contrast, was a kindred spirit. She spoke of music as a calling, a passion, a language of the soul. As we played together, our instruments weaving a tapestry of sound under the Balinese stars, a new vision for the band began to take shape. With Riley, a stranger-turned musical soulmate, we'd rediscovered the pure, unadulterated joy of music. It was a connection forged in shared passion, in the freedom of a faraway island, a stark contrast to the stifling confines of my marriage. 3 months later, a call from Mr. Lewis summoned us back to reality, back to the rocking the stage show, back to the world of ambition and competition. We returned to Be City, our transformation a secret, ready to unleash our new sound on an unsuspecting audience. The Rocking the Stage Season 3 tapings were in full swing. We were ushered into a viewing room, hidden from the main studio, to watch the performances unfold. On stage, Leo's band, The New Sensation, was in the spotlight, their polished performance slick and commercially appealing. Throughout their set, the cameras subtly, and perhaps intentionally, panned to Angie in the audience. 6 months had etched lines of weariness around her eyes, a subtle fading of her usual vibrancy. Yet, her smile was dazzling, incandescent. She cheered wildly for Leo, waving her arms, a devoted fan, utterly oblivious, or perhaps deliberately indifferent, to the man watching her from the shadows. But at that moment, my heart was a still lake, undisturbed by even the faintest ripple. Our 7 years, our story, was definitively over. As the show progressed to its climax, my band was announced as the mystery guest, and the studio erupted in a wave of ecstatic cheers. Yes, Galactic Coastline, rocking the stage, is saved. Oh my God, it's been ages since their last tour. I thought they dropped off the rock scene. But who's the girl? My only band on repeat. A year and a half without new music, my spiritual sustenance is finally back. Woo! Ben's bass and David's guitar launched into a synchronized intro, and an almost reverent hush fell over the audience. The music was a languid, dreamy haze, a romantic psychedelic soundscape with retro undertones, woven into the shifting tempos of Mark's drums. My voice, a relaxed, slightly husky drawl, intertwined with Riley's ethereal harmonies, creating a melody that was instantly captivating, deeply resonant. As the final chord faded, the studio exploded. The crowd was on its feet, a thunderous wave of encore, echoing through the space. Though we weren't competing, the celebrity judges were effusive in their praise. I love the band's free-spirited energy. It's utterly infectious. Galactic Coastline's transformation over the past year is incredible, truly beyond expectations. Absolutely brilliant. There's a new depth to their music now, a yearning for freedom, a subtle critique of modern life. My heart pounded in my chest, a rhythm that mirrored the beat of the music, a feeling that transported me back to that heady summer 8 years ago, when rock and roll was everything. Thank you all for your incredible support for Galactic Coastline, I announced, my voice resonating with genuine emotion. I want to dedicate this song to everyone who's ever felt lost or heartbroken, in love or in life. Don't chase after indifference. Don't betray passion. Life is vast. Don't confine yourself to the narrow corridors of love and hate. Let's face the future together. Yes, in the secluded months of our Bali retreat, I'd led the band through a metamorphosis, and I'd had the incredible fortune of Riley joining us, her voice adding a new dimension to our sound. While still rooted in indie rock, our music now pulsed with the vibrant energy of retro disco and the swirling textures of psychedelic rock. These were the unexpected gifts of our Balinese sojourn, the seeds of a new beginning. After the show wrapped, Angie found me backstage, her eyes rimmed with red, tears threatening to spill. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling, "can we talk? Please." Hesitantly, I nodded, gesturing for my bandmates to go ahead. Seeing my slight concession, she grabbed my arm, her voice laced with a familiar possessiveness. "Who is that woman in your band?" I glanced at her, my expression neutral. "She's just a bandmate, Angie. A colleague." As if struck a physical blow, she erupted in a torrent of tears, pounding her fists against my chest. "You're lying. You're lying. To me. I don't believe you. Why did you leave me without a word? Do you even know what I've been through these past 6 months?" I sidestepped her flailing fists, my voice cold, detached. "Believe what you want. You agreed to the divorce, Angie. What is this now?" The old Ethan, the one who would crumble at her tears and placating words, was gone, replaced by someone hardened, wary. Just say it was a mistake, okay?" she pleaded, her voice thick with desperation. "I never wanted to divorce you." "Stop being childish," she continued, her tone softening, shifting to a manipulative sweetness. "We have 7 years together, Ethan. I can forgive you for this moment of weakness, for being with another woman. We can start over, properly, if you just come home." I wrenched my arm free from her grasp. She stumbled, losing her balance, falling heavily onto her backside. "Angie," I said, my voice low and steady, "are you serious right now? Do you really want me to spell out what you and Leo were up to?" Her face drained of color, a mask of shock and shame. She sat there, speechless, her carefully constructed facade crumbling around her. But she quickly rallied, her voice rising in defense. "Ethan, listen to me. It's not like that. Leo and I, there's nothing really going on. I just thought he reminded me of you, when you were younger, full of fire. I just wanted to give a young artist a chance, that's all." Just then, a figure rushed in, Scooping Angie up from the floor, Leo, his face contorted with manufactured outrage, he glared at me, fists clenched. Hitting a woman? What kind of man are you, Ethan? You disgust me. Angie and I are just friends. It's you? You walk out on her for 6 months and come back with some female musician in tow. No wonder you were so eager to divorce Angie. You've been cheating on her the whole time. You're scum. I sighed, a weary sound. I had no patience for this charade, this pathetic drama. I'm done with this, Angie. Sign the divorce papers. Or don't. Either way, you'll be getting a court summons soon enough. I could walk away, could sever ties cleanly, because I knew I could rebuild my life, my career, from scratch. Angie, on the other hand, would be left with half of our shared assets and nothing else. I turned to leave, Angie's desperate cry echoing behind me, Ethan, you can't do this to me. I won't divorce you. But I'd only taken a few steps when a fist connected with my jaw, sending me crashing to the floor. I watched in slow motion as my guitar, slung across my back, took the brunt of the fall, the sickening crack of splintering would echoing in the tense silence. Slowly, I pushed myself up, carefully setting the broken guitar case aside. That guitar. It was a birthday gift from my parents, their most precious legacy. Even as fame and fortune had arrived, I'd never replaced it, never been able to part with it. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, my gaze locking onto Leo, a cold fury rising within me. You want to die? I hissed, my voice dangerously low. Leo, fueled by youthful bravado and Angie's presence, puffed out his chest, rolling up his sleeves. Someone needed to teach you a lesson, you piece of trash. Before he could finish his sentence, my fist connected with his face. Leo crumpled, hitting the ground hard, winded, disoriented. Straddling him, I unleashed a pent-up rage, my fists raining down on him. For all his lean physique and posturing, Leo was all show, no substance, quickly reduced to whimpering pleas beneath my onslaught. Seeing Leo's face swelling, bruising, turning into a grotesque caricature, Angie finally intervened, fear overriding her anger. She threw her arms around my waist, sobbing, "Stop, Ethan. Please stop. You'll kill him." I paused, my breath ragged, adrenaline coursing through me. She thought I was relenting because of her, because she still held some sway over me. She pressed her face against my back, her sobs a pathetic performance. I stood up, deliberately, forcefully, peeling her clinging fingers from my waist, my voice laced with ice. "So, now you care? Remember this, Angie. I have ways to make his life a living hell." With that, I retrieved my broken guitar, slinging it over my shoulder, and walked away, leaving them both in the dust. Later that night, the band and I celebrated the show's success with a raucous dinner. Returning to my old house, the house I'd grown up in, I found Angie waiting on my doorstep, a forlorn figure huddled in the shadows. Hearing the elevator doors open, she turned, her face streaked with tears, and launched herself into my arms. "Ethan, please, stop this, please. I know you're angry about Leo, but you hit him. You got revenge, right? Isn't that enough? Look, I know I was wrong. I'm giving you an out, okay? Just forgive me, please. We have 7 years, Ethan. You're not just going to throw that away, are you? I miss you so much." I pushed her away, a cold laugh escaping my lips. "You miss me? Or you miss the money, Angie?" She quickly countered, "Ethan, I know that guitar was from your parents. It's precious, I understand. I'll get Leo to apologize, and I'll order you a new one, the best brand, whatever you want, okay? And if you really hate Leo, I'll drop him, fire him, whatever it takes. We can afford the contract buyout. It's just money." I cut her off, my voice flat. "Are you finished?" I brushed past her, unlocked the door, and stepped inside, shutting her out. The next morning, heading out for band practice, I found her slumped on the doorstep, looking even more disheveled, more desperate. Angie scrambled to her feet, but her legs, stiff from sleeping on the cold concrete, gave way, sending her sprawling. She seized the opportunity, grabbing my leg, her voice a whining plea. Ethan, I fired Leo. I'm getting you a new guitar. What else do you want? We have plenty of money. I'll buy you anything. Money. It was always about the money. Ignoring her pleas, I tried to step around her. She shifted tactics, her voice softening, laced with a pathetic coquettishness. My legs are numb. Ethan, can I just come inside for a minute? I've been freezing out here all night. I silently thanked my past self for changing the locks on the old house before Bali. Otherwise, she'd probably be camped out in my living room already. I shook her off, my patience finally snapping. Angie, are you ever going to stop? She stumbled again, falling hard, scraping her palms on the rough concrete. She'd never endured such indignity, such rejection. A wail escaped her lips, escalating into a full-blown, operatic sob, echoing through the hallway. Ethan, you're a heartless bastard. You want to dump me, divorce me? Well, I'm telling you, it's not happening. The commotion drew curious neighbors, doors creaking open, faces peering out. Angie, past caring about appearances, amplified her performance, her cries becoming even louder, more dramatic, now directed at the small audience. Ethan is heartless. He disappears for 6 months, doesn't say a word, then comes back and demands a divorce. He's cheating on me. Everyone, tell me, is this fair? The neighbors, initially sympathetic, began to murmur amongst themselves, their gazes shifting, assessing, judging me. Murmurs of scoundrel, disgrace, reached my ears. Seeing her blatant manipulation, her twisted narrative, I sighed. A weary sound of resignation. You really are something else, Angie. The day you got that Hermes perfume, Angie, where were you? Shall we share your text messages with another man with everyone here? The neighbor's accusatory whispers abruptly ceased, replaced by a stunned silence. The tide was turning. Realization dawned on their faces. Perhaps I wasn't the villain after all. Murmurs of sympathy, now directed at Angie, began to ripple through the hallway. Angie's face contorted with rage and mortification, a crimson tide flooding her cheeks. She lunged at me, her fingers clawing at my hair. You're lying. You're slandering me just to get a divorce. What kind of man are you? Just then, security guards, alerted by the commotion, arrived on the scene. Seeing the escalating situation, Angie, realizing she'd gone too far, shoved me hard, then turned and fled down the stairwell, disappearing in a flurry of accusations and tears. I'd wanted a clean break, a dignified divorce. Angie had made it clear that wasn't going to happen. Fine. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd meet her on her own terms. If her carefully constructed image was her most prized possession, I'd dismantle it, piece by piece. I contacted my lawyer, the best in the city, and initiated divorce proceedings. Given Angie's adultery, she was legally entitled to only a fraction of our marital assets. She refused mediation, refused to consent to the divorce. No matter. The court would grant a mandatory judgment in 3 months. I could wait. A semblance of peace finally settled over my life. Rumor had it Angie had returned to my apartment complex several times, only to be turned away by security. After her public meltdown, I'd instructed security to keep a close watch to prevent any further visits. Rocking the Stage Season 3 continued to air, episode by episode, building momentum. By the time the finale aired, our new single from the upcoming album was exploding online, a viral sensation. I took the band on a national tour, a whirlwind of sold-out shows and screaming fans. Life, despite the messy divorce hanging over my head, was finally moving in a positive direction. One day, during a rare moment of downtime between gigs, Riley interrupted our lunch, brandishing her phone, her eyes wide with alarm. Ethan, you need to see this. Check the trending topics. Something big is happening. I clicked on the trending hashtag, and my blood ran cold. Famous rock star abandons wife. Clicking through, I found a link to a celebrity interview show, hosted by Angie's best friend, Wendy, on Wendy's entertainment platform. There, on screen, was Angie, tearfully recounting her version of our story. How she'd sacrificed countless high-quality men, Countless opportunities for a better life, all for me. How she'd endured agonizing fertility treatments, countless injections, all to give me a child. I built his career from nothing, gave him my youth, my everything, you know? I always wanted my husband's hands to be for playing guitar, so I willingly aged, sacrificed my looks, to take care of him, to shield him from everything. And he never saw my feelings, my needs. Every birthday, every anniversary, he'd give me these thoughtless, impersonal gifts. Stuffed animals, a massage chair. They were okay, I guess, but they never touched my soul, you know? I'm a frugal person, really. To buy a house, to build a home for us, I didn't buy a single new dress for 7 years. Even the old furniture in our villa, I insisted on keeping. Ethan kept telling me to replace it, buy new things, but I couldn't bear to throw them away. They were reminders of how far we'd come, of our humble beginnings. Deep down, I always knew Ethan wanted to replace more than just the old furniture. And now, he's actually divorcing me, trying to take most of our assets. How can he be so heartless? He never loved me at all. With that, she dissolved into a torrent of sobs, her performance of grief Oscar-worthy. The interview went viral instantly, and the online backlash was swift and brutal. I was trending again, but this time, for all the wrong reasons. Unbelievable. All smiles on stage, but a monster in real life. Through thick and thin, they say. Turns out this Janan, scumbag, is abandoning his Zhaokangqi, wife who shared hardship. Ungrateful trash. Boycott this loser. I used to love this band, but if I ever listen to their music again, I'm a dog. Internet sleuths even dug up old photos of Angie from 8 years prior. Radiant, vibrant, a stark contrast to the tearful, victimized woman on screen. Riley and my bandmates watched me, their faces etched with worry. Ethan, what do we do? Just tell us, we'll issue a statement, clear your name. We're with you, no matter what. I shook my head, a wry smile playing on my lips. I hadn't wanted to drag this into the public arena. If I released the explicit video, Angie would be publicly shamed, her life ruined. But Angie, it seemed, had decided to escalate, to weaponize public opinion, to try and blackmail me with moral outrage. Don't worry about it, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Let's use this to our advantage. Free publicity, right? Might even boost album sales. I sent a text to Angie, asking her to meet me that evening at our old favorite restaurant. She replied instantly, agreeing. She probably thought I was finally cracking, about to beg for forgiveness, to offer a hefty, hush money payment to silence her, to salvage my career. After all, branded a scumbag and wife abandoner, my days of fame and fortune were likely numbered. But this time, there would be no more concessions, no more playing nice. Angie sat across from me at the table, a smug, victorious smile playing on her lips. Ethan, long time no see. You're awfully eager to meet. What did you want to say? Let me tell you something, these 7 years, you're the one who wronged me. Everyone knows it now. I won't accept a cheap apology, Ethan. I tilted my head, a cold smile mirroring hers. Yes, Angie, long time no see. Long enough for you to conveniently forget that I have proof of your affair with Leo. As I spoke, I raised my phone, the incriminating video silently playing on the screen, held up for her to see. The old Ethan, bound by some misguided sense of chivalry, would have never stooped to this. Even during the divorce proceedings, I'd avoided public mudslinging. She hadn't expected this direct, brutal confrontation. Her smile faltered, cracks appearing in her carefully constructed composure. Panic flickered in her eyes. Where did you get that deepfake video? You think you can slander me like this? I'll sue you for defamation. If it's fake, then why are you panicking, Angie? I countered, my voice smooth, dangerous. And Leo's tattooed arms, and your birthmark, undeniable proof, not some AI fabrication. What do you have to say now? Angie's fear was palpable, radiating off her in waves. What do you want? You want me to pay you to shut up? Is that it? I lowered my phone, leaning forward, my voice soft, but laced with steel. I don't want anything from you, Angie. I just want you to listen. We couldn't conceive naturally, remember? The tests showed you had PCOS, making natural pregnancy impossible. I said we'd be okay without children, but you insisted, threatened divorce, even suicide, until I reluctantly agreed to IVF. The housework, Angie. Who did it? The cleaning lady came weekly, but fixing leaky faucets, changing light bulbs, unclogging toilets. Wasn't that always me, the man of the house, doing all the dirty work? The designer clothes I bought you. You said they were too expensive, you didn't like them. Weren't those the ones you personally returned, arguing with the sales assistant at the boutique? Your birthday gifts. Every single one. Wasn't it something you'd seen at your best friend Wendy's house? Something you suddenly had to have? That stuffed animal, Angie. I flew overseas, stood in line for 3 days to get it for you. That massage chair. I saw you complaining about back pain, leg cramps, used my entire paycheck from a week of back-to-back winter gigs to buy it. And my knees still ache from that tour. Angie, the dampness gets to them, especially in winter. Speaking of Wendy, your best friend, you pretend to be so close, but all these years at home, you'd rant about her, call her names, say she was deliberately showing off in front of you, making you feel inferior. Any of that untrue, Angie? I finished, my gaze unwavering, relentless. Angie's eyes darted around the room, her face a mask of shame and simmering resentment. You have a good memory, Ethan. You remember everything. But none of it, ever touched my soul. You just never understood me. I cut her off, my voice flat. That's enough for today, Angie. I'm tired. I shrugged on my jacket, stood up, and turned to leave. Leaving the restaurant, I called Wendy, Angie's best friend, who worked at the entertainment platform. Taping's done. It's all yours now, I said, my voice dry. Even before the dinner, I'd contacted Wendy, proposing a follow-up interview to Angie's tearful confession. Wendy, always chasing ratings, had jumped at the opportunity, secretly installing hidden recording equipment in the restaurant. Perhaps, through this recording, Wendy would finally see Angie for who she truly was. I was right. Wendy moved quickly. The follow-up, exclusive, aired the next morning, and as I'd predicted, Angie was instantly crucified in the court of public opinion. The online backlash was brutal, merciless. The internet turned on her, the tide of public sentiment shifting overnight. So, he's the breadwinner, and she's the spiritual gold digger who complains about not being pampered enough. Never touched my soul, more like, she's just jealous of her friend's lifestyle, bitter that Ethan didn't buy her designer bags, didn't fuel her pathetic vanity. Exactly. She's the one who cheated, the one who tried to publicly smear her husband, make him look like the bad guy. Ethan dodged a bullet, marrying this gold-digging, lazy, manipulative leech. Poor Ethan. Angie suddenly became a derogatory term, a byword for a selfish, grasping woman. She became a pariah, afraid to leave her apartment, fearing the inevitable jeers, the hurled insults, even vegetables, from angry passers-by. Leo, sensing the shift in public opinion, tried to distance himself, even hinting at Angie seducing him. But I wasn't done with him yet. I released the security camera footage of our fight backstage, Leo's aggressive defense of Angie, his unprovoked attack on me, backfiring spectacularly. The internet did its work, unearthing Leo's hidden past. A history of financial instability, a string of rumors about him being a gigolo, conning wealthy women. I quietly ensured this information remained buried. Let Angie have her treasure. Let them sink together. Leo, branded a scumbag musician, was effectively blacklisted from the rock scene, forced to withdraw from the music world. He lost lucrative gigs, defaulting on contracts, plunging into debt. Armed with the irrefutable evidence of Angie's adultery, I finalized the divorce in less than 3 months. While Angie was technically the majority shareholder of the record label, the company was considered marital property. And given her infidelity and her demonstrable lack of business acumen, she had no legal claim to its future profits. On her lawyer's advice, she reluctantly agreed to a lowball buyout of her shares, receiving a fraction of the company's value as compensation. She nearly erupted in court, a final, pathetic display of entitlement. I saw Angie again 6 months later. We'd just finished a concert, heading to the parking garage to drive back to the hotel, when she materialized in front of my car, a spectral figure from a past life. She looked years older, gaunt, her eyes hollow, filled with a profound weariness. Fearing a staged accident, a desperate attempt at a lawsuit, I got out of the car. The moment she saw me, she rushed forward, collapsing into my arms, her sobs wrenching and desperate. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I was wrong, so wrong. I see it now. Only you were ever honest with me. Leo lied about everything. His family, his money, it was all fake. He swindled me, took everything I had and ran. I can't even find a job now. Please, Ethan, please, let me come back to you. Please." Her cries echoed through the garage, drawing curious onlookers, other concert-goers heading to their cars. She was playing her final card, leveraging her public humiliation, hoping to elicit pity, to manipulate my emotions one last time. But the old Ethan was gone, vanished, replaced by someone immune to her tears, her theatrics. I pushed her away, my face impassive. "Please move aside, Angie. We're divorced." Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks, her voice a desperate plea. 7 years, Ethan. How can you just erase 7 years of our life? Forgive me, just this once. I know I made mistakes. Every woman makes mistakes. If we get back together, I promise, I'll never nag you again, never cause trouble. I'll be a good wife, stay at home, do whatever you want, say whatever you want. I'll never argue with you, never go out with anyone else. I looked at her, my expression devoid of emotion. "Are you finished? If you are, please leave. I have a date." She recoiled, disbelief etched on her face. "A date? With who? That female musician?" "Yes," Riley's voice confirmed, clear and confident. She stepped out of the car, walking over to me, slipping her arm through mine, staking her claim. "With me. And you're going to keep us waiting." I pulled Riley close, wrapping my arm around her shoulders. "Let's go then. It was a long show tonight. I've made reservations at that new place you wanted to try." I steered Riley around Angie, opening the passenger door, helping her into the car. Behind us, Angie's voice, a broken whisper, trailed after us. No, it can't be. I don't believe it. You were always together, weren't you?" I didn't look back, didn't acknowledge her. I simply got into the driver's seat and drove away, leaving Angie in the rearview mirror, a fading silhouette in the twilight. In the car, Ben chuckled from the back seat, teasing Riley. "Riley, you're Ethan's savior. Seriously, don't tell me you two haven't been practicing some duets in private?" I playfully swatted Ben on the head. "Lay off, Ben. Riley, ignore him. And thank you for playing along tonight. Save me from an even bigger scene." Riley smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. "Anytime, Ethan. But seriously, you promised dinner, right?" My stomach's growling. My bandmates chimed in, a chorus of mock hunger pangs erupting from the back seats. "Yeah, Ethan. Dinner. We're starving. Take us with you. Please." I laughed, the sound genuine, free. "All right, you bunch of freeloaders. Let's go. Dinner's on me. Tonight, we celebrate." Late into the night, the 5 of us, slightly tipsy, walked arm in arm down a quiet, deserted street. Riley, her cheeks flushed pink, suddenly stopped, calling out my name, her voice echoing in the stillness. I turned to look at her, a lazy smile on my face. Her eyes, illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights, sparkled like distant stars. "Ethan," she said, her voice a little shy, a little bold. If I said I think I might, maybe, like you a little bit, what would you say?" My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat. The unspoken feelings, the hesitant hopes that had been quietly growing in the shadows, suddenly burst into the light. "Then," I said, my voice low, sincere, "we'd be together." Her eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and delight in their depths. "What?" she breathed, her lips slightly parted. I knelt down on one knee, a spontaneous gesture, a moment of pure impulse. Reaching up, I unpinned the small flower brooch from my collar. "Riley," I said, holding out the flower, "I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Her eyes shone, tears welling up, but her smile was radiant, incandescent. "Yes," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "Yes, I will."